Okay, here we go. Painting up one of the many Corsairs that I've been painting up for the last few months, and we're doing the Cloak today. So we're starting off with a undercoat of Alejo model color SS Camo Black Brown, and this is just mainly to cover up all the black so none of that's showing through, and virtually 100% of this color will be covered up by the time we're done. The next color is Alejo model color Camo Brown Medium, and this is covering up virtually all the SS Camo Black Brown. And this is the actual first shade color, and so right now we're not doing any layering. We're just covering up the entire cloak and in preparation for the main base color. With that dry, I can now start working on the main base color of the cloak, which is Alejo model color Flat Earth. And as always, this layer is a bit thinned a bit. Not as much as normal, simply because I have so many of these to paint. I am speeding up the process a bit. So this color is going over virtually everything. The Camo Medium Brown staying in the recesses, and in the areas where it begins to touch the scales on the back of the cloak. Other than that, we're going fairly simple, and is moving along on this project. The first highlight layer is a 50-50 mix of Alejo Flat Earth mixed with Game Color Cobra Leather, and this is going over all the usual highlight areas where the light would catch. And you may notice that the previous layer is still a bit wet. I have 60 of these guys to paint, so whatever I can do to speed up the process, the better. So I'm using a sort of haphazard wet blending technique, just applying the layer over the previously still wet Flat Earth base coat, just to speed up time. It's not something I normally do, but when you have 60 of something to paint, whatever you can do to save some time, the better. And then once that's done, another highlight layer. This is using just pure Game Color Cobra Leather. Again, applied over the white paint, just working on the tips, areas of the top highlights here. And this is applied, the same color is applied twice. This layer is thinned slightly, going over the white base coat, so there is some translucency to it. Once the figure's totally dry, then I'm going to go back over with a slightly thicker Cobra Leather and apply that just to the very edges of the cloak to add a bit of crispness to them, and a bit of that extreme highlight and a little bit of extra contrast. But after that's done, that is it for the leather portions of the cloak, and now it's time to work on the scales. For the scales, I'm starting with a undercoat of Game Color Stormy Blue, and on the upper areas we can base coat that fairly easily, just put it wherever we need to. As we get to the bottom of the cloak, the scales start spreading out a bit more, so these have to be painted individually, just very tiny dots. And of course, normally you want to always thin your paint no matter what you're doing. However, when you need a lot of control, like just painting small dots like this, the paint's used straight out of the bottle. If it's thinned even slightly, it's going to run, and we're going to make a mess. So going ahead and base coating all the scales in stormy blue, and then we could move on. The cloak has some deep recesses that need a bit of extra shade, so applying a 50-50 mix of stormy blue and Vallejo game color magic blue. And again, this paint's very thick because we got to paint very small dots. This is just going in the basic bare recesses of the cloak. I could put it all over, but there's basically no reason for it since the majority of the other areas are going to get covered up. So once that's done, we start working here on just using straight magic blue. And again, the paint's very thick, and it's applied with a very good tipped brush, and just doing spots upon spots upon spots, just leaving that previous stormy blue magic color magic blue in the deep recesses of the folds of the cloak. Now you could, if you desire, to basically dry brush all this. I'm not a huge fan of dry brushing, but if you're looking for something faster, of course you can. Dry brushing would get a little bit harder at the bottom area here where the scale starts spreading out. But if you're interested in really trying to save time, you can dry brush until you get to the bottom of the cloak and then try painting all these scales individually. We are going to highlight the scales twice, both times by mixing in a good portion of white. The first highlight, I'm going over virtually the entire scale, individual scale, wherever there's a bend in the cloak where that would catch some additional light. Again, just very fine tip brush. You're probably going to need a new brush for this. Normally I say, don't use the tip of the brush, you're supposed to use the side, but when you do things like this, you definitely need to use the tip, and you need to have a brush that's still in pretty good condition to get things like this done. And here we have the final highlight color, magic blue, with a good healthy dollop of white added to it. And this one is going just on the top highlights, some of the larger scales like the ones going up the back in the middle, just trying to highlight the upper edge of the scale where the light would be coming down from rather than the entire scale itself. And that is it for the scales. Now this particular figure has a big bony ridge going down the back as well, so next we're going to tackle that. If you follow me this far, then the rest is a breeze in comparison. For the scales, just undercoating them in some Vallejo Game Color Cobra leather, the same used on the cloak, the leather portions of the cloak. And just make sure you get the tops of the spines as well as flipping the figure over and getting the bottoms as well. The base color of the spines is Game Color Bone, and this is going straight over the Cobra leather. Normally, if I had the time and the patience, I would be mixing these two together first to create a bit more subtle transition between the two colors. But A, I have 60 of these to paint, and B, because of they're so tightly intertwined to the cloaks, I want a good amount of contrast to make these spines really pop out from the scale. So going straight from Cobra leather straight to bone adds more contrast, and so the spines end up popping more when the project is when it's all done and said. And finally, last thing, highlights to the scales, adding a healthy amount of white to the bone color and just hitting the tips of each of the spines. And that is it. We are done with 1 out of 60 Corsairs. Well, I guess I still have to paint the rest of the figure, but at least we're done with the cloak. And here are a few Corsairs I baked in the oven earlier. Now, these are all done, of course. The rest of the figure is painted basically how you've seen previously. I was going to do a full Corsair painting article, but I would just be repeating myself. The gold here is painted exactly how I showed you in the How to Paint Gold article. Armor, just like I showed in that recent video, How to Paint Flesh, I also did. The only things on here not covered in previous videos is essentially the black of the boots, which is highlighted with a subtle amount of green, which I don't think you could even see on camera. But all the other portions of this figure have been covered previously in case you were interested in wondering how those were done. But that is it for the cloaks, and that is it for a few out of the 60 Corsairs I need to paint. So hope this helps. Thanks for watching.